like a lot of tech bros in their early 20s, I recently discovered Buddhism, but I've kind of been interested in why it's so popular in the tech culture. And I guess there's other meditative varieties too, but just meditation in general. Pickaxe fell over. So I read a bunch of different books, and I think I understand it a little bit more now. So the book I liked the most was Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Professor Suzuki. He's a famous authority on Zen, and I listened to that a bunch of times. Honestly, in large part because I like the narrator's voice, and it's like simple and easy to follow. So I listened to that like maybe 5 or 6 times, and each time through I think I got a slightly deeper understanding, but really Zen is about practice more than it is intellectual understanding. And then I also read The Way of Zen by Alan Watts. That was recommended to me. That was very good as well. And I read this book called The Courage to be Disliked, which doesn't necessarily relate to Buddhism, but it's like a young kind of guy's 20-year-old guy in college's conversation with a professor about growing up, and it'll relate, I promise. That book really talks about Adlerian psychology. Adler was one of like the big 3 original OGs with Jung and Freud, and he did a lot of work. And he has this hypothesis, sorry, I'm a math major, that all problems are interpersonal relationship problems. And when I first heard that, I was like, that's kind of dubious. Are you sure? And I promise this relates to Buddhism. I consider some kind of really abstract problem, like you want to implement stochastic gradient descent, something we all know how to do, but it doesn't directly seem to tie to an interpersonal relationship. It's kind of an abstract thing. But if you look at the reasons underlying why you're doing something, it's like, okay, why do you want to implement this stochastic gradient descent? And I don't know, I'll make up some little story here. Like you're trying to make a machine learning model so that you can learn machine learning. And like, why do you want to learn machine learning? So that you can get a job in it. And why do you want a job in it? Oh, so I can make money. And why do you want money? So I'm not out on the street and I'm not shunned by society, and like I can take care of I can have a family, can take care of the people close to me. And then it's like, okay, well, so it was an interpersonal relationship problem. Like it all chains to you and your relation to other people and what you can do for them and trying to fit in to society. So how does this relate to Buddhism? A big part of the goal of Buddhism is like separating your relativistic ideas and trying to eliminate them, basically, which is very, very hard to completely eliminate them, but to be aware of them at least. Like your ideas of yourself and how you relate to other people. And that's like 99% of what we think about is kind of self-centered thoughts about how we fit in with other people, how we compare to other people. Not directly necessarily comparison, but you think about just relatively, where do I stand? And in tech, it's really bad because you're constantly like, it moves so fast and people are so competitive because it's like you want to be the one to make a big contribution. Maybe you're not a startup founder, maybe you're not directly inventing something yourself, but you want to be a good engineer. You want to be doing something that's helpful. And what's considered helpful is changing all the time as the technology changes. So you're constantly like evaluating what other people want you to do, what technology you should learn, like what company you should work at, what new paradigm, what new technological invention is going to be big. And you're looking at all this stuff very relativistically. So to try to basically like feel safe, like that's all we want. Back to the interpersonal relationship things, like we want humans want connection and safety. They want to feel like they're part of the herd and they're not going to be exiled. And when you're in a space that's like constantly churning expectations of what's required to be like to be a member of this the tech group, the people that are doing the important work, you constantly have to be updating your mental model and comparing yourself. Now, what happens again and again, and this happens to me, it's happening right now, is you hear this, and you hear this stuff about comparing yourself to other people. And it's very easy to think like, yeah, sure, terrible. Like if you could just like not worry about all that stuff and just be and just exist, you would be much more peaceful and happy. It's very intellectually, that's pretty easy to accept, but it's very hard to actually realize, because a lot of the stuff you do, like that idea is appealing when you are not, you feel you're not doing well. You feel like, oh, I'm behind on the latest tech, I'm behind ability-wise, that guy is better than me, that person has more job prospects, more connections than me. I'm worrying about this is bad. I'm gonna chill out on that and be zen about it. But the insidious thing is, if you're doing well, if you feel that you're doing well, you want to throw out all of the Zen wisdom, because it feels like you've kind of transcended it seems like you've won the game, right? And that's what happened to me, like following YouTube and trying to get more job offers and connections. Like I kept feeling like I'm actually doing really well here for myself at this age. Like I'm getting really far ahead of the people I see around me in school, and it makes me, it's hard to accept Zen when it's like you're, okay, yeah, the system is bad, but I'm winning the system, so it's fine. But the problem is that, and they make this point again and again in the Zen books, is you think you're doing something special, but really you're not, and eventually it catches up to you, and it caught up to me. And it's also like, I've heard the name hedonic treadmill. Eventually, the problem with basing your self-worth and stuff on your achievement in the tech society is that it feels satisfying so long as you're like, you love it so long as you're still winning, but it always will slip and the baseline will always return. Like I stopped posting for a little bit, and it's amazing how quickly like all the insecurity about not being able to get a job and the job market and AI like immediately just descended upon me with full force, like absolutely brutally. And then like recently I got a couple other job offers, and like the delusion that it's like, oh, I'm doing well, who cares about what other people think? Like it immediately comes back again. It's very tough. So I see why so many very talented engineers are Buddhist, because even if you're winning in life, relatively, you have like a job at Google and everything is going well for you, it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't bring you peace, and striving for something always will leave you kind of empty. And so that's the great appeal of it, and it's cool. It works both ways, both if you feel Zen is like a very long-term project though, and you have to really realize and accept that like it's not going to fix all these problems and relativistic thinking overnight. It'll take years and years and years, but I don't know, that's just the hard pill to swallow. That's the reality of it. But I definitely think that it's worthwhile for your peace of mind. Also, another thing is, this could be blasphemy, and I'm not qualified at all in Zen. I've just read some books, but you don't necessarily have to practice it in the way where you're like, you're sitting cross-legged and that's one way to practice it. But according to a couple of these books, like basically everything is zazen. Like, and you kind of should be practicing it through all your activities, not just like sitting and meditating. I'm not exactly sure like how correct of a thing that is to say, or if this is like a bad thing to do, but whenever I'm listening to a book about Zen and it says something about, it refers to your practice, right? Instead of thinking about meditation, I think about like math, because math it's like studying a structure, and I think sitting and like focusing on your breath, studying yourself, but you could also study something else, and it's about not so much what you're studying, but well, okay, I'm not qualified at all to say that, but I'm trying to think of like, I don't know, it really helped me appreciate these books, to be reading them and not just thinking, oh, this applies to sitting and meditating. I was trying to think like, how does this piece of Zen wisdom apply to programming or math or drawing? Like, what are they saying here? And because they all refer to practice, it's very interesting. It's kind of like math is my meditative practice. It is my daily practice. And just the parallels are pretty astonishing. It's also this, I understand it more and more. It's also like an infinite self-eating snake to meditate or practice Buddhism, because you're like constantly like, oh wow, I'm doing this cool like I'm becoming this elite, mentally disciplined programming techno monk. This is so sick. But like, to have that view, you like continue to inflate your ego and run back to a dualistic idea, and it's like just like an endless loop, man, over and over and over again. I was kind of frustrated with that at first, but that's being frustrated with it is, if you're frustrated with it, it seems like you are expecting something from it, and that's like that's the way you know that you were practicing with the intent to like gain a future ability, which sacrifices like the present moment. And that still happens to me all the time, but I don't know, the more I think about it, the more I sink into it, it gets better very slightly, day by day. I can't really tell, but they have a great quote that's like, in this one book, if you go out in a rainstorm, like you'll get wet all at once, but practicing Zen is like going out in a fog. Like, you get wet very, very slowly, but you'll get like wet to the bones. Like it'll penetrate all the way in there. Hey yo. All right, I'll catch you next time.